Ever since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and even before, people were predicting, expecting, and dreading the avalanche of laws and proposals that were going to be floated from the Republican Party now that these laws are up to them. Now that it's not a right across the country to have an abortion. It's in the hands of the states, so naturally states that have Republican strongholds are going to pass some wild, draconian laws. And we're starting to see that. What we're talking about today is just the Republican Party platform in Idaho that they agreed upon. But of course, Idaho is a pretty red state, so this could be something we see get passed into law in a state in the United States. Absolutely heartbreaking. Reading from Yahoo News, Idaho Republicans have declared abortion is murder from the moment of fertilization and would make no exceptions even to save the life of the mother, according to the state party's platform. No exceptions even to save the life of the mother. There are countless situations where a medical situation happens and the only option is to have an abortion to save the mother's life. And they're saying, no. Even if the mother's going to die, you cannot go through that medical procedure. Continuing on, Republicans at the state's GOP convention this weekend rejected an amendment to their official party platform that would have provided an exception for a pregnant person to save their life. The platform also makes no exceptions for rape and incest. So the rape and incest, while wildly tragic, is less surprising because that is something Republicans have stood for a long time. And in a way, that is the more consistent position, right? If you believe it's a life at conception, then the way in which that life was conceived in your mind wouldn't be different. So I guess, even though while horribly oppressive and damaging, I guess that's more consistent, but still brutal. But then to bring it all the way to, if the being that's producing another being, if the mother who's producing with their body another being is in a situation where to save their life, they can no longer continue producing that being. And the Republican Party of Idaho says, no, you have to die because we value that being that you're producing not the same as you. We value it more than you. We would rather that have a chance of living than you have a chance of living. So this is a really scary part of the moment that we're now in. It's almost like the Republican Party in many cases pretended, we just think people shouldn't be getting abortions in these sets of situations, but of course we can talk about the tragic situations and blah, 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 blah. And of course we have a heart for the woman if they're in a situation where they're going to die, then an abortion would be necessary. And it was, in the case of these Republicans, it was just lies. They were just waiting, trying to have a platform that would be somewhat acceptable to some of America, even though most of America doesn't agree with even the limited platform that they pretended to believe in. They were just waiting until Roe v. Wade was overturned and then letting their real beliefs be known. And so I think it almost gives a lot of credit to people who are super, what would be called hyperbolic about the intentions of the Republican Party in situations like this. Because you really can't take them at face value. We're to a place now where they're saying the mother needs to die for the life of the unborn being. I mean, how much more dystopian can it get? We're going to have women dying because they're being forced by the state to produce another being against their will. Crazy stuff, and super heartbreaking, and it just reminds us why these issues are so important, why the Supreme Court is so important to be concerned with, and it should motivate us to fight. And also, while I am a huge advocate for voting, you gotta vote, we have to be active ourselves as individuals, we can't just rely on people in power to be good out of the goodness of their heart. We have to pressure them so aggressively that they're forced to do it. I do recognize the anger right now towards the Democratic Party because it's like, we've seen this coming and you have not acted with the urgency or efficiency that you should have, that you really promised to. In so many cases, we saw Democrats run on, we're going to protect your reproductive rights, but then they didn't really do anything to protect those rights. And now we're in a situation where they're saying, hey, awesome, like, donate money to us, vote for us because we're the ones who believe the correct thing on this issue. It's like, yes, of course you're going to be better on this issue than the Republican Party. And that's valuable. And when it comes down to it, that's who I'm going to vote for. And I'm going to be happy that I have that opportunity. But why haven't you acted before we got to this situation? And why don't you have a plan now to get your obstructive members in your party, Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema, in line, or at least show us that you're trying publicly, aggressively to pressure them to change their opinion, their stance on the filibuster that's causing the lack of action on this issue, so that we have some fighting chance of protecting women in states like Idaho, who are now going to have their life decided to be less valuable than the life that they're developing, the to-be life with rights that they're developing. So super important, and we need to fight. I know it feels hopeless, but we really do have to keep pushing our politicians and getting better politicians in there, into the Democratic Party, who will actually protect our rights and not just pay lip service to them.